Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new episode of The World Today. We are going to discuss many headlines published on national and international websites. And before we start, let me first welcome our dear guest live here in the studio, Mr. Tarik Salama, our political analyst and the leading member of the Free Egyptians political party. Thank you very much for being with us, sir.
Thank you.
And if you permit me, we are going to start immediately. This is from the Times. The Muslim Brotherhood struggles in a new Egypt. An organization accustomed to operate outside the law, the group's current circumstances are unprecedented. The military's ousting of the long-time Brotherhood official Mohammed Morsi from the presidency last July has yielded the most challenging phase in the group's existence. Before asking a question, sir, I'd like just to amend some of those written on the Times. It's not the Muslim Brotherhood, it's the terrorist Brotherhood organization, and it's not the military who ousted Mohammed Morsi, it's the 30th of June revolution backed by the army, as the army and the people are the same, to be accurate. I'd like just to know about how now, in your opinion, the softened tone of the West and especially the media is going on a day after the other, after Egypt sent, or the Egyptians to be accurate, sent a message saying that we are on the right track, implementing the roadmap, starting with the constitution, and now we are on to the presidential election.
I think that to start with, June 30, we were not really prepared to respond to the foreign media, and because we had other priority. And after a year, I think most probably the West started to understand that no, we are going by our word and we will do into a democratic process, and this is why the West is changing now, because you have to understand their mentality. They cannot understand that an elected president can be toppled by the army, because they didn't have really profound analysis of the realities on the ground. So I think that this is a good thing, and hopefully after the presidential election.
I'm sorry for the interruption, but not a good analysis, or in some certain occasions they were twisting the facts or saying lies. Even many of them, they did not say that there were more than 30 million people were in the streets asking for this and supporting the 30th of June revolution.
Yeah, but we have to differentiate between press, media, and governments and public opinion, because they are not the same.
Sure.
So sometime, even here in Egypt, we will have some people in the media will attack something that is valid or will support something that is invalid. So this is the same. So we should not always, we'd rather take always the official declaration of governments, because this is the thing that matters. But if we start the game of responding to some journalists that inexperienced, coming from a country that does not understand Egypt, we'll lose our time. So we'd better focus on the real the governments or the groups that moves the public opinion generally.
So, as we are also with a man of economy, the economists say, holding their nerve on the Nile. Foreign firms have not abandoned Egypt. With about 90 million people, it's the region's most populous country and still a cultural trendsetter in the Arab world. Middle-class incomes have been growing, and though poverty has soared, even the poor must eat and wash. Here we are talking about Egypt, but from the prospect of those foreign firms, as said by the economist. Was it expected, and the coming phase, is it going to witness more development, progress, or we should be a little bit patient?
I think we should be a little bit patient. Definitely, all foreign companies or investors are interested in Egypt because Egypt needs a lot of development. It's a huge market and so on. But we need first to prepare ourselves to have clear laws, to improve the system, to reduce all the problems that we have in administration, and then, yes, there is a good future. But it will take some time, and it will take also a lot of work. So
Sir, as I told you just before being on air that I'm not good at all with economy, with economics,
yes.
but in certain times, even if I'm not interested, I would find surprises regarding the stock market in specific, with purchasing operations from Egyptian foreign and Arab investors. Is it only about the political turmoil, or there are other things or other elements, other factors which may cause here a loss, cause their profit, things like that?
Yes, this is a very interesting question. Unfortunately, a lot of people always are talking that the stock exchange is a reflection of the growth of the markets in general. But actually, the stock exchange is only a market where investors sell and buy shares. And this means only what investors feel it's a good opportunity. That's why during the last year, for example, we had the stock exchange going up in moment that politically we thought it should go down.
Yes.
And the stock exchange went down in moments where we think it should go up. And the stock exchange in Egypt is small compared to the whole economy, Egyptian economy. So I don't think really that the stock exchange alone is a real indicator for the growth of Egypt. The real indicators are the inflation, the growth, and the unemployment. These are
our ability to implement the austerity measures if we can.
If we can, exactly, perfect.
And taking you to Al Ahram Online, where Egypt accepts U.S. ambassador to Cairo. Egypt has agreed on the U.S. nomination for its new ambassador to Cairo. Dr. Badr Abdel Ati, the spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry, was unable to reveal the ambassador's name, but we all know that he is Robert Stephen B. Croft, and he was the American ambassador in Iraq, and there are some musical seats issue.
Yeah.
So he is going to come to Egypt, and the one in Jordan is going to go to Iraq, and they are going to nominate someone in Jordan. It's a musical seats game, as I said, but I'd like to ask you to comment on the timing of this American ambassador coming to Cairo just a few days before the presidential election, if there is a relation or connection.
I think there is a relation. We have to understand that in America, for example, politics is not about the president of the republic. This politics is about the lobbyists, about the senators, and so on. And not having the highest representation in Egypt was politically the only choice the American could have done. But
for
now,
7 months, the position was vacant.
Yes, but now, on the contrary, I see that nominating the ambassador in Iraq, which is Iraq, usually American ambassador is a kind of, this is the highest level.
Flashpoint.
Exactly. So coming to Egypt, I think this shows how much.
I think this was the case with Ann Patterson too.
No, Ann Patterson was in Pakistan.
Another hotspot?
I think the choice, this was, I think, my own opinion, Ann Patterson was a very bad choice. Because the idea was she was supposed to understand supposed to be Islamic mentality and so on, and she understood nothing about it. So, but I think I hope for the next ambassador.
By the way, it's no secret that B. Croft was the second nomination from the United States, and the Foreign Ministry refused the first nomination, who was once in Syria, I think, for the last couple of years or something, during also a political turmoil state. So, before leaving this point, sir, after the 10-day visit of His Excellency Foreign Minister Nabil Fahmy to the United States, meeting with people in San Francisco, with Ban Ki-moon, of course, the UN General Secretary in New York, and meeting with other American top officials, do you think that, and of course after what he said, having the bilateral ties based on mutual respect more than any other thing, the coming phase, is it going to witness more differences, diversity of topics to be tackled, the historical ties, the strategic ties between Egypt and the United States are going to witness another era? How do you see it?
No, I think that if we go into the democratic path that both candidates of presidency are willing to do, I think it will go for the better. And there is also the self-interest of countries. So you cannot say that no, the relation will go down. I think it will be much improving, and it will go with the stability of the government in Egypt.
sir, since you have mentioned the presidency race and what's going to happen in the coming few days, of course we are expecting a lot from the two presidential candidates with addressing people every now and then with their campaigns and with war of words, I may say, which is very much normal between rivals. Of course, there are many things in common between in the two programs. They are both addressing Egypt and the Egyptians. But if you do have some steps or something to give as a piece of advice, how to go immediately, directly to the heart and minds of the Egyptians to attract them to vote, especially for one candidate?
This is a very difficult question what you are asking, but I'll try to give my in brief.
Just in words.
The only thing that Egyptians should do now is to think that whatever their choice would be, both candidates are people that love their country and love their people. And if they do their choice, they should do their choice for the candidate that they think or feel he will be better for the next 4 years in Egypt. And don't forget that actually according to the new constitution, the reality of solving the problems of the population would be in the hand of the prime minister. So don't forget,
powers of the president are not the same.
Not the same. So don't wait for any of the candidates. If
So
he
why
comes
I'm
to
asking
president.
this question.
Yes.
If I were representing the people, I know that Egyptians were in such difficult situation for the past 3 years. And it seems that we are going to continue in such a difficult phase, so we need someone who is really in contact with the Egyptians. Is it transparency? Is it hard work? Is it knowing well what to do in advance? Is it to have a long strategy and a short-term strategy? Is it what?
I think we should start by the transparency and reform of the institutions. This is the most important thing. And I think also that Egypt is a huge country, 90 million people. So decentralization is the key. Why? Because it's is the key. Why? Because the president of the republic cannot solve the problem of everybody. So he has to delegate powers to lower levels and then to the point of a district. So you will go there and you will have your own problem will be solved at the level of the citizen. But not wait the government to do everything. It's impossible. And even very advanced and very rich country don't do that. So it's about time that the government takes real steps into decentralization. This is extremely important, I think, to solve, and transparency, obviously.
And to echo what you were saying, Al Ahram online saying Egyptian Doctors Syndicate suspends 2-month partial strike. The Egyptian Doctors Syndicate announced that it will suspend its 2-month partial strike after the cabinet agreed on 3 of their demands earlier this week. This is one of the things which I was talking about. Personal demands, for instance. Not personal, a special sect's demand. Is it, I may say, legal even to ask for something personal in this very critical period of Egypt's modern history in general, or everything should go in parallel?
No, I think as a principle, yes, it is legal. Well, anybody has the right to have his demand, but it's how we channel that. So why those people do that? Because unfortunately, we don't have the institutions that can channel the demands properly. I'm talking about labor unions, I am talking about business association. There should be some competition between those labor unions and those associations. And this is the way to calm down the people. Otherwise, what do you expect? But I'm happy that the doctors' union
In
have...
specific doctors.
Yes,
yeah.
They have done this. I think this means also that they are starting to trust a bit the government, and this is you have to convince people. If you convince people with logic, I don't think that they will strike or do anything. But you have to make the effort to convince the
Here,
people.
sir, you are talking generally or in a specific regarding this example?
No, I mean this example specifically, because Taran doctors, it's a very critical thing, and Egyptian, it's something like education, very near to their hearts. So I think for the time being, this is a very good move. But I hope that the government will continue talking and trying to solve their problems.
So I'd like to ask this question to many of my guests, and especially when they are political and economic experts, like you, of course. After exactly on the 12th of February 2011, people had great expectations and they thought that everything is going to be solved and it's going to be they're going to lead a rosy life. And for 3 years, the case was not like that at all. In fact, it was deteriorating from a day to the other. But there are analysts who will say that 3 years is nothing in the history of a nation, and they are comparing Egyptian revolution to the French Revolution, to the Orange Revolution, to the Latin American revolution, things like that. Is it that Egypt are not patient enough? Is it that they do not understand the real meaning of a revolution? Is it what late Omar Suleiman said, that we are not ready for democracy? Is it what of those?
Okay. First of all, for sure, we are ready for democracy. We had democracy long ago. We are one of the first country in Africa and in the Middle East that had kind of democracy 100 years ago. So I don't think this is it. Secondly, revolution is a revolution. All the ideas will go. We'll have periods that we are extremely optimist and periods we are extremely pessimist. But we are in a new world. There is social media, there is telecommunication, everything. So we can learn much faster. And I don't think it will take that time. But I have an example, which is, I think, a good example that is similar to Egypt, is Indonesia. They had this kind of revolution maybe in 1996 or 97, and now Indonesia is one of the tigers, or the future tigers of Asia. So it took them 10 years more, 15 years, more or less. I think Egypt is capable of doing this much faster. Don't expect a lot, but I think the real growth will start within the next 5 years. So this is my opinion.
With an optimistic view or with a realistic view?
No, optimistic.
Okay.
But you have to have, we have to be patient, because we'll go down a bit more and go up again and so on. So let's say stability will be.
Hope they can do miracles.
Exactly.
But give them hope.
So the government need to give hope to the people, and hope that is realistic. So
let me take you to Libya, to our western gate, to Libya, where we read, Libya. Gunmen kill intelligence official. Gunmen on Thursday shot dead Colonel Ibrahim Akila, a top government intelligence official in Benghazi, a day after a political leader in that eastern city rejected the election of a new prime minister. Here we are talking to Libya. Of course, we are sad about any bloodshed in any state, and especially when it comes to our Arab states or our Arab neighbors, I may say. But let me here be a little bit Egyptian more than anything else. And speaking about Libya, as I said, as the Western Gate, as those infiltrators who are coming from the borders are unfortunately spreading more chaos into Egypt. Here, is it only the security solution, or it's going to be solved political in a politics way? I mean, using politics. Is it a diplomatic effort? Is it both of them?
I know for the time being it's a solution that needs. There is no politics in Libya now. The institutions are down. There is no institution actually. So I think it should be a more security thing, and I would say that Egypt needs to be more involved in that, because this is a danger that is much higher than our western borders.
The very thin thread between having the right to defend our national security and between being accused of violating the sovereignty of another nation.
Yeah, the thing is, do we consider that actually Libya is a sovereign nation? This is the thing.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
I think what's happening now, you have several factions there. Each one is controlling a part of it, and it needs some stability. And this is why...
They didn't ask for help.
Who didn't ask for help?
We should respect that they are searching now for a prime minister. Till they do have a prime minister, we are waiting, and the international community is waiting till they, the Libyans, choose for themselves and choose their coming leader.
Okay, but I think that there is too much involvement from foreign powers, and Egypt has no say in that. And I think that Egypt should have a say in that, like all foreign powers. So it's not a question of saying yes, we leave the things happen as they are, because it's our western frontiers. So this is, strategically speaking, no, we should be involved, at least at the level of diplomacy, at least, if you would not want a direct involvement, at least. Russia has done the same for Crimea. So I don't know, because this is again strategically problem, and we should resolve that.
Let me take you to the New York Times, which is talking about Syria. This time, the last busloads of insurgents left the battered old city of Hims in central Syria under Adil, handing over the long-time bastion of rebellion, once was called the capital of the revolution, to the government after nearly 2 years of blockade and bombardment. Syria, another issue. Next month, inshallah, President Bashar al-Assad is going to be a new candidate for the presidency for another term. The bloodshed is there, and there are deals which we hope that they are going to continue the same way to avoid more bloodshed. Then, the disappearance of Bashar al-Assad, would it help? Or the re-election of Bashar al-Assad would cement his position as a leader in front of rebels, not revolutionaries?
I think this is really tough question, and it needs, it cannot be either choice, cannot. If Bashar al-Assad really cares about his country, he should try to bring all the rebels around him and try to discuss things. And this is the only way that Syria will be able to go out of this crisis. But waiting who is the strongest, or waiting the support of foreign...
The people who are paying the price.
The normal people paying the price. So Bashar al-Assad needs to open up doors to his enemies, yes, and then maybe there will be a solution. Otherwise, I don't think it can last very...
Was it a revolution or opposition groups turned to be rebels, turned to be sectarian violence, turned it to be a very paved land for Al-Qaeda and the affiliates of Al-Nusra Front and the ISIL and those, terrorists to go on and to be in between lines to incite more violence and to turn the situation from bad to worse?
Okay, my reply on that is, this is the result of dictatorship. If you have dictatorship, this is what you get. So that's why all the countries in the world needs to go for more democracy. This is the only way, because it takes out the anger. Democracy, it's not a perfect system, but it takes out the anger, it takes out the violence.
Is it because of this, sir, because we do have only 2 minutes?
Yes.
It's not a coincidence to find that what you are calling tyranny or dictatorship, what happened in Libya, they are now calling Muammar Gaddafi dictator, late President Muammar Gaddafi. Saddam Hussein in Iraq, same story, and now Bashar al-Assad. And what was taking place in Yemen, for instance. Was it a coincidence to have all these all together happening in the very same time and call it an Arab Spring even after all this bloodshed?
Yeah, because those regimes did not go toward the path of democracy. They should, if they had worked to that. And that's why we in Egypt, although we are saying that this is one of we are the country that is the least, that has the least violence compared to, why? Because we had some kind of democracy. There was, for example, the media was open more or less. There was some struggle, yes, the election, there was the government, although it was also another kind of soft dictatorship, but there was a kind of democracy. That's why. But consider those other countries, it was a complete dictatorship. So that's why you had a violence as a response. So I think it's about time that the countries in the Middle East and most of the countries want to go really towards more democracy, and they will be obliged to do that because the revolution of information and social media is changing completely.
Turn the world into a small village.
Exactly.
Tomorrow is another day.
Yeah.
Mr. Tarik Salama, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we'll
you
leave you with a promise to see you again in another episode of The World
Hopefully.
Today.
Thank you so much.
Dear viewers, by this we come to the end of this episode of The World Today. Till we meet again same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. Have a very good afternoon. This was Nurmina Abdurrahman.